Hi, welcome to Nevin's Lab. Today I'm going to show you how to stop the Smok X-Pro M50 from backing off quite so quickly. There's a design fault with this device, and it's to do with conductivity between the negative of the battery and where the negative feeds into the circuit. As a result of poor conductivity, the circuit thinks that you've got a poor battery, and when you try and fire it at high wattage, 65 watts, it does its safety measure and backs off 60, 55, 50. This one, when I got it, only seemed to fire at 50 watts. I rarely got it to fire above that, even with a brand new fresh battery, fully charged, etc. I figured out how to fix that problem. This device now fires first time, every time, even at the highest wattage, no back off until the battery actually starts getting low. All you need to complete this modification is a bit of sandpaper and a drill bit. This is 3.5mm drill bit, so something around that size. So let's go into some close-ups and I'll show you how to improve the performance of your M50. Okay, so this is the X-Pro M50. Now the problem is this stuff here. The battery inside, we'll see when we take it apart, the battery inside connects directly onto this base. And this base is chrome plated, and chrome isn't a particularly good conductor. The current from the battery has to pass through this base and into the casing of the mod, which is aluminium, and then into this top piece here, and the negative wire for the circuit is soldered onto a post on the top of here. So basically the current has to pass through an awful lot of connections with very bad conductivity, and that essentially makes the electronics think you've got a bad battery. So all we need to do is shave off, remove some of the chrome plating in key areas to improve the conductivity. So we're going to take this apart. You'll see immediately I take it apart what I've done. So you should be able to see there that I've scratched away some of the chrome plating off of this post that the battery connects onto. So now when the battery's connecting onto that post, it's making a much better contact. But I believe it can be further improved. I'm going to do a bit more on here just to show you what I did, but this then has to make contact with the aluminium case in order to pass the current through it to the top. I reckon the best way of doing that is to take out some of the chrome plating from inside these screw holes, and then the screws will make the contact between the plate and the aluminium. So to do that, I'm going to use a drill bit. I've put it in a little chuck here to make it easier to hold. If you've got one, then use that, but essentially you can do it just holding the drill bit in your hand. Certainly don't put the drill bit in a drill. That's far too much. We just need to scrape a little bit off the inside. So let's start with the sandpaper. Move those out of the way. Got a little sanding disc here, and all you need to do is place it on the sandpaper. Give it a bit of a rub. And it really doesn't take much to remove the chrome off. I've already done it on this, so it's difficult to see, but you just need to take the shine off until you've got this dull effect of the metal, the base metal. So that's it. It literally takes a few seconds of rubbing like this on the sandpaper, and you'll take the chrome off. Next, take your drill bit and make sure you've got a drill bit that fits in the hole. You just want to scratch in the base of there so that your screw is going to make contact with it. So I've got a 3.5mm drill here. I've got a 4mm. 4mm's too big, so 3.5 is about right. It's quite loose in there. You could have a slightly bigger one if you've got 3.6 or 3.7. But really, you just want to do a few turns, and you see you don't want to take too much off because you don't want to cut the hole out. But you'll see now that one, you see it's scratched and shiny. The clean metal underneath is showing through. That's it, that's all it needs. And do that on the others. A few turns. I'm not putting any pressure. I've got a new drill here which is quite sharp. I guess if you've got an old blunt drill you might need to put a bit more effort into it. Just a few little scratches. Don't want to cut all the way through, it's quite thin. And then all the way around each one, a couple of turns. And now you can see all of them have got a little bit of a shine to them in there. That's really all it's going to take. You could also use the sandpaper on the inside of these pieces here, just to really make sure that every place that it's making contact, so where it's making contact against those parts there. Let's do that. Let's use some sandpaper and we'll just scratch off those corners a little bit. So I've got my sandpaper. I'm going to place it on something, and let's just excuse me, you'll see there straight away that the chrome is starting to come off. And you just need to take a bit off and get to the base metal, and that's going to make much better contact. Now you'll see what looks like copper. That this isn't copper. This isn't a copper piece. That's a copper plate. Quite commonly, first a piece of metal is copper plated because that gives you a much better chrome finish afterwards. So you'll see the copper plating below that very quickly rubs away. It's almost impossible to sand it just to the copper plating so that you'd have a copper contact but I don't think it makes that much difference. So let's give this one a rub. Just watch out for here that you've got a plastic piece stuck here, which is to prevent shorts against the board inside. So I rubbed that plastic a bit, not enough to damage it, but just watch out for that. Work around it. Okay, so I'd say that's pretty much done for that side. So all I've done is I've rubbed the plating off of here, I've rubbed the plating off of the corners, and I've cut some of the plating out from the inside the screw holes to make sure the screws make a good contact. Now we need to do the same on the top end to complete the circuit properly through the casing and into the top plate. So we'll take that off. And we'll lift that out. Now you see here is the negative terminal. So this conducts from this plate into the negative wire, and that's essentially your negative on the circuit inside. That pin or that wire there is what needs to be contacting or getting conductivity through to the negative of your battery. And we've got the same issue here. Because these are quite recessed here, it's going to be difficult to try and sand away these pieces here. So we'll just use the drill bit. I'm just going to make a little scratch on here, like that, a little scratch on here. There we go, and you see that the metal is showing through. I can't get to those, so what I'm basically going to do is scratch the chrome plating from inside of these. We just scratch some of the chrome plating from inside each of the holes, and you can see now that a clean metal shine inside the holes, and that's going to make a decent contact with the screws, which will equally give you a better conductivity to the case. So that is basically it. We'll put this back together and we'll try and vape something at 65 watts and see what happens. So I've put a dripper on there, and you can see we've got a 0.2 ohm build in there. This seems to consistently show lower resistance on the screen here than my ohm meters do. I don't know which are being inaccurate. Let's get that all the way up. You can see that's a 0.34 according to this ohm meter, and 0.2. But the point of it is that I've got it set at 65 watts and it fires, and it will consistently fire at 65 watts. I've not had any problems, even in fact with the basic bit of a scratch on the bottom. So basically, before I modified my M50 65 watt upgraded, I couldn't vape anything above about 50 watts. If I went over 50 watts, it would just drop back and drop back. It didn't matter what I did, what batteries I put in it, how fresh they were, brand new batteries, freshly charged, didn't matter what ohms the build was, nothing. But since making that change, it's rock solid. It hasn't dropped down on me once. So let's have a vape. 65 watts. I only wanted to make it work because it's supposed to do it. I'm not sure how often I'm actually going to vape something at 65 watts, but the point was it was supposed to do 65 watts, and I was determined to figure out why it wouldn't. So here we go. 0.2 ohm build. A bit of, where's it gone? Jack's blueberry custard in the Dark Horse. That certainly dries the wicks out. So to close, it's very simple. All you need is a bit of sandpaper, not too coarse graved. This is 180, and a 3.5mm drill bit. You don't need to put it in a chuck. You can just do it holding the drill in your hand. It really doesn't need much pressure at all, just to cut the surface off. So thanks for watching. Come back again, and happy vaping.